Okay, when we were learning the sugyas of Tov Ma'od, when we dealt with lusts, that the Gaon says that a person can't bring into their service to Hashem, can't use that as the driving force of your service to Hashem, food, drink, woman. There was a piece that we left off with from the Gaon in Mishlei, which have been living with for the last few weeks and trying to just work out how would I actually implement that in my life. I'll tell you what I've been grappling with, and then I want to, so I would like to increase my own time in learning Torah. So I'd like to increase the amount of time that I'm learning, and that's easier said than done. You know, it's not easy. You're whatever. You all know the battles, and I thought the Gaon says that in order to grow your learning, you've got to bring your Shelo Lishma into it, bring your Yaitzes into it, and it'll get you excited about learning. Find out what's driving you in your life and pull that with you into the base medrash. So I've been trying to work with myself, actually work out what's actually going to get me actually to get into the base medrash, because we all live, and we're going to see hopefully today if we start the piece I want to share with you. We live in this duality, which is like in my brain. I know that there's nothing more important I can do with my time, and I even know that I have the time. But to actually make the time and do it, it requires something else, and that's the me. The me has got to get this. I've got to actually work out who is me now at 46, because I knew how to get me into the base medrash when I was 30. But at 46, I'm struggling to actually work out, and things have happened in my life and changed. I'm a different person. What's going to actually hook me, that's going to actually give me the consistency, the energy and drive to actually stay in the base medrash? So that's what I've been grappling with. And I've been grappling with another sugya, which is the on that same Gaon. He says the following. He said there that, I don't know if you guys remember it. Maybe you do. You're refreshing. Listen to the recordings. But he said that the Pasuk in Mishlei says that the way to quell the desires which are not tolerable by the Torah as a driving force in your life, food, woman, is to schlep them into the base medrash. Now I was thinking, how do you bring your desire for food into the base medrash? Because that's the key for that person. If I can unlock that, I'll be able to unlock a whole world for a person whose world is consumed by lust. Because I can say, the Pasuk said that they've got to learn Torah. Torah will be the antidote to quell and soften their desire for, let's just keep it at food for the meantime. It will be the same for women. But Torah will be the medicine that will quieten that drive down and give space for other healthier drives to take the fore in their life. But how do I take a person whose life, when they wake up, a guy told me, he said, he's never missed a meal in his life. In his life. He said, like, if he misses lunch, he feels like robbed. That, like, lunch was taken. I can't relate to that. So I'm like trying to step into this world which I can't really understand, but I understand that it's dominating his life. It's the rigidity of his whole life. If I could get that rigidity into Torah, first of all, he'll become a Talmud Chacham, and it will just reduce that pull that he could miss lunch. It would be okay if he was doing something important. How do I soften that a bit? So that's what I've been trying to think and grapple with. And I have, these are not the answers. These are my current position to a month or so of thinking about it and trying to share it with guys who have that and seeing the results of it. But you should continue your journeys yourself, especially if that is the driving force of your life. It must be moved. It must. And you have to work out how to do it. But the only way to do it is with Torah. But the question is, how do you bring that into, because it says, if that manuvel from the Gemara, if that low life confronts you, schlep it to the base of medrash. That means it must come with you. It's not like saying, listen, stop telling me about lunch. I'm going to learn. No, then you left the poor manuvel outside. The Gemara says you've got to bring it in with you. So that's a big, I don't know how those things don't seem to go together. How do you do it? But the Torah says that's what you've got to do. So how do you do it? Everyone following the problem? I think this is honestly like a key to tremendous breakthrough for people who have this. So the one, my first thought, which I have shared with you, and I think this is very true, is that the reason why most of you never miss this shiur and you come so regularly, I don't know what you do in other shiurim, but why you come here so regularly, is because you like money and the shiur is about money. It's simple. It's like I'll change the topic and I'd start speaking about korbanos for the next two things. First of all, I won't come after 2 weeks, but you also won't. Now, what is that? Because the yaitz, you've got a yaitzer and it's actually interested in money, and so the topic's interesting. And so your yaitzer comes with you to the Beis HaMidrash. Are you with me? The topic happens to be real Torah that we're learning from real Makoros, but the topic is of interest to a lower part of yourself. That's bringing your yaitzer into the Beis Midrash. Comes with you. And that's transformative because it gives you consistency, it gives you personal interest from every fiber of your being, not just intellectual interest, but the actual me, which drives most of my life, is actually interested in being here, and I can actually have some type and sort of consistency in my learning, actually learn something and grow. So that for sure is one of the things. A person who has lusts should learn about the lusts in the Torah. Not to kill them, not to destroy them. It's fascinating. We'll just take, for example, I'm just thinking out aloud, a person has a lust for women. Do you know how many very, very interesting topics there are in the Torah? Many sugyas, many prokim in Tanakh, which you don't want to read with your child. You don't want to read with your little children. Graphic, adulterous, crazy things that are going on there. Those are fascinating sugyas for that part of you. Go learn them. Learn them up. They'll be so interesting. You'll be hooked for years. But what you did is you took that lust, which seemingly had no place in this world, and it's making you interested in Torah. I was a young teenage boy. I remember the chapters. I got given a gift as a Barmi boy, a Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. That's what they gave us at Santon Shul as our gift. It was a code of Jewish law. It was this pink book. It even looked archaic when they gave it to you. There was no book that I'd ever seen in my life that had a plain pink cover, very similar to that, just a bit duller. Now, that's a very encouraging book to give a 13-year-old. No pictures, no writing, no front cover, nothing. Anyway, that's what we got given. And it was like that and a siddur, which I got given at my barmi, which also I thought, like, why would you give a person a weekday siddur? Like, what a waste of time. Like, that's a stupid present. That's what I thought. Like you know what I'm saying? Like a machzor, I'd use that, but like a siddur, like, what would you get that for? Anyway, the sidur's been worn thin, and I've actually used that code of Jewish law. But that code of Jewish law sat in this little cupboard next to my bed. And every now and again, when I couldn't sleep, I'd open it up and I'd page through. Now, I didn't learn the laws of tzitzis and tefillin. I could probably there. I read the topic thing, and saw what? The Code of Jewish Law speaks about that. Chapter 227 down at the back there. Do you know what a 15-year-old little boy wants to read about? It was fascinating. I couldn't put it down. I couldn't believe that the Torah actually spoke about these things so openly. But what got me into the Code of Jewish Law? That. And I had a few friends. We all got the same book. Eventually, we got brave enough to tell each other, have you read chapter 2? What, can you believe it? We couldn't believe ours. But we managed we had no planning. But actually, what got me to open that book was a very teenage Yetzer Hara. And as an adult, if you still have it and it's still growing strong, it can do wonders for you in the base medrash. But just learn the things that are interesting for it. So that's my first thing, how you bring it into the base medrash. Actually, learn the topics that are of interest to your lower self. They'll be fascinating. And your motivation for doing it is actually you want to grow out of this part of you, that you can actually have an interest in Torah itself, things which are spiritual, and you will get that because the Torah is fascinating and it's engaging and it's going to shift your mindset over time in the way you think about that sugya in your life. You'll think differently. You will come and you will grow up, and your neshama will gather the strength to be able to lead your life and not let that lust lead your life. But somehow it's got to come with you in your life. That's one suggestion. The second suggestion, he went to a dietitian and she told him that whenever he thinks that he needs to eat something, not at a mealtime, he's got to have a set of weights at his desk and he's got to do weights. And it worked. So I thought that's quite a chokhmah that. Like, what was she actually trying to do? I was trying to think, like, what's going on there? Why does that actually work? And then, I'm not going to tell the depth of it, but it led me on to this following thought. How could a person who had a desire for food, who it consumes their mind, how do they make that a part of their learning of Torah? Got to bring that into the base of Midrash. How do you do that? So I had this idea. I told it to somebody, so I want to tell you what happened. This guy came up to me. I had the idea in my brain. I shouldn't put it into my mind. And this guy came to me at the beginning of this week, or end of last week. And he just told me, like, it was on Tuesday. He said, I've got this problem. What's his problem? He says, I've got this very, very low yetzer hara, like for food. I can't resist. I said, I'm trying. It's just, and the more I've gone in the singing, the more I try and resist, the more it's like fighting me, and it's like killing me. I need to go back for seconds, and I need to, it's bothering me. So I said to him, okay, I've got an idea. This is what I've been thinking about. I want you to try it for me. I said, okay. You're trying too hard. You're forcing your yetzer hara not, you're just trying to squash that yetzer hara. It's there in you. And you're saying to it, no seconds. So it's fighting. The grass says you've got to take it to the base of Midrash. Now, how do you take your desire for seconds to the base of Midrash? How does that work? So I said to him, I want to suggest the following thing to you. I say you can have seconds. But tell your desire for seconds, it has to learn a Mishnah with you first. One Mishnah, you'll start in Brachas with the Bartanura, and if it learns the Mishnah with Bartanura with you, as a reward it gets second. Came to me today. I wasn't going to give this share. I had something else planned, but I thought I must share it with you. He came to me today. He davened with me. He came running up to me in the middle of Torah reading. And he said to me, Rolf, I learned the Mishnah. What's he talking about? Which Mishnah? He said, Rolf, I learned the Mishnah. I didn't have my seconds. I learned the Mishnah. And as I said, he said, it was unbelievable. So and then he went away. And I thought, no, you can't leave me like that. So after the Torah reading was finished, I went up to him and I said to him, what do you mean? What happened? You have to tell me exactly. He said, I'm telling you. I want you to just know. It was the most spiritual experience I have ever had in my life. I said, why? He said, I was sitting at the table and I said to my wife, I want seconds. She said, go have. He said to no, discussed it with Rabbi Trieger. I'm going to learn a Mishnah first. And he said, do you want to learn it with me? His wife learned it with him. He said, he always thought his eating was l'shem shamayim. It was like for ruchnius. He always said he's eating to serve Hashem. This, actually make up their life. He's eating because he's eating, maybe. There's no l'shem shamayim there. That's just not. But he realized that. He says the first time he ever felt that he was eating for Torah, really, and his whole being was vested in that Mishnah. He says, I can't describe it. It was the most deeply spiritual experience that he's had. It was the first Mishnah in Brochus. You've learned it many times. It's a nice Mishnah. It's not it was deeply spiritual for him because for the first time in his life, his whole being was in the Beis Midrash. Not just his brain, but even his Taiva Sechila came with him. The most dominant driving force in his life learnt a Mishnah happily for the first time in its life because it was going to get what it wanted as a result. It was there. And then he said to me an interesting thing. He said, you know what? I didn't even have seconds in the end. Which is exactly what the Gaon says. He says that the Torah quells the desire ultimately. It's like a vaccine. And eventually just caught in the Torah and the desire for seconds goes away. And it may not. And if it didn't, it would also be, I think it would be great. He must go back for seconds. But he actually said practically he didn't in the end. He got so consumed in the learning that he didn't go back. So I thought that was an unbelievably fascinating, practical experience from someone live who actually tried it and worked. So those of you who are in that sugya, I encourage you to do one of those two things, to try and, the goal is to bring your whole being into learning. And for a person with those desires, it's huge to Ellis if you can do that, because it's going to push aside a desire which is otherwise very stifling, very unproductive, and doesn't allow you to move forward in your life. But it's the same work for all of us who have other desires leading us in our lives. How do you bring that into the Beis HaMidrash too? How do I actually get it here? Because if I can get that with me, that it's actually also vested in being here, it will be the most unbelievable side of learning that you'll have. You'll be engaged in the learning. You'll be kavua in the learning. You'll actually learn and retain something that's of interest and of benefit to you in your life, and you'll grow tremendously from it.
And would you say the same applies for an addiction?
Look, I'm not an expert. I'm nervous, but addictions are very close. They're very strong tivers, you know. I don't know how it works, but like a cigarette, for example, I think it would work well. You can have another cigarette today, but first a Mishnah. You've got to bring something else into your life which is actually the Torah will transform you with time. I don't know. I'm scared to speak on addictions. I'm not an expert. But certainly, let's just say on lusts, and I don't want to speak on asur lusts, but on lusts for your own wife who's mutter to you, which the Torah encourages you not to be with her like a chicken, 3, 4, 5 times a day. So how do you stop that if that's what you are, Mishnah. You can. It's fine. 100% mutter, perfect. Let's just not make that be the driving force. When I leave home, I'm thinking about how I'm going to get back to my wife. Mishnah before. You can have it, but let's learn a little bit. As a reward, you'll get that. You can have that it's like just starting to bring Torah into the place of interest in my life and learn topics which are interesting for that driving force in my life, and actually start to learn about the things which actually speak to me. Because when I say me, it's those, whatever that base desire is, that's really the me, the dominant me that's speaking to you in your life day to day. And me has to come with you into your service to Hashem.
I thought the concept you said you can't use lustful women as a...
So again, I want to just tell you you're not allowed to use those things. So what I think, and I don't, but he says you have to bring it into the Beis HaMidrash. So it means you have to use it. He says, Shelo lishma. So the Shelo lishma is with using that thing. But I think what he's saying is this, is that You can't have as the central driving force in your life these lusts. It's not allowed. It has to be sidelined. But that doesn't mean you cut it. You can't cut it. But what we're doing here is you're actually practically trying to sideline it. You're trying to sideline it. How do you sideline it, he says? You have to feed it Torah. But how do you feed it Torah if it's not interested in Torah? He says you have to bring it with you into the base medrash, feed it Torah, and it will get sidelined. Understand? It's not something which you're trying to make it the central part of your life. With money, for example, you don't have to try and take that out of your life. It can be the driving force, the carrot that's dangling in front of every single action that you take. It will develop a very healthy, productive person. The other won't. But it's a sugya. I don't have a clue. But there's something. He calls it l'shem shamayim shelo lishma. That's an interesting thing. He says the reason why doing it is l'shem shamayim. You're actually trying to get rid of it. That shelo lishma worked unbelievably, he says. So it's like a different type of a thing. It's just, when we're working an experiment, I don't have the answers, but it feels like that works better.